Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, you're never going to make somebody who's fundamentally unhappy a happy person. Somebody who is deeply, endlessly miserable. Well, no matter how many SSRIs that individual takes, no matter how many times you snap your fingers hoping the individual is going to snap out of it, it's never going to happen. It's a hopeless endeavor. And I'm sure a lot of people with previous relationship experience know exactly what I'm referring to. If you're with someone who is hopelessly miserable, somebody who's hopelessly pessimistic, you just can't fix it. And that's the thing with these leftist activist types. That's the thing with this woke crowd. You know, they get one thing and then they're on to the next. They get what they want and it's not enough. That's where the concept of you can never be woke enough comes from. No matter how much you genuflect, no matter how much you virtue signal to the woke crowd, it's never enough. You can never be woke enough. You can never be progressive enough because you cannot please fundamentally miserable people. You know, there's a lot of people who say stuff like clinical depression isn't a real thing. There's no such thing as being depressed. Well, I don't know. I beg to differ. I think the woke radical left pretty much disproves that stance. Let's take a look and delve into the woke, miserable leftist activist mind. Today's candidate, Greta Thunberg, savior of the world, possibly future president of Earth. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at this. Climate change brat Greta Thunberg is now protesting wind farms in Norway. World famous climate brat Greta Thunberg is now in Norway protesting wind farms. Wind farms. Isn't she supposed to support alternative and green forms of energy like this? Isn't this what she has been demanding for years now? One almost gets the sense that she is more interested in protesting than the issues that she claims to care so much about. We've got this article from CBS News. Dozens of activists, including Greta Thunberg of neighboring Sweden, blocked the entrance to Norway's energy ministry in Oslo on Monday to protest a wind farm that they say hinders the rights of the Sami indigenous people to raise reindeer in the Arctic Norway. The activists, mainly teenagers, lay outside the ministry entrance holding Sami flags and posters reading, "Land back."
I am here to support the struggle for human rights and indigenous rights. The Norwegian state is violating human rights and that is completely unacceptable. Så vi håper dere har det fint. Koser dere I sollyset.
Protesters from organizations called Young Friends of Earth Norway and the Norwegian Sami Association's Youth Council, NSR Nuorat, said the ongoing human rights violations against the Sami reindeer herders must come to an end. Several of the activists donned the Sami traditional bright-colored dress and put up a tent used by the Arctic people. Now, firstly, these are the Sami people of northern Norway, and don't you think that that's a little bit offensive? Young, posh climate activists dressing up in Sami traditional clothing and putting up a tent to sort of teepee. Don't you think that's cultural appropriation? How offensive. But on a serious note, or I guess kind of on an unserious note, since this whole thing is totally unserious, how to absolutely destroy your credibility 101. It's the insatiable appetite of the woke activist left. It's never going to be good enough. No matter what you do, we need to lower emissions. Multiple countries and corporations pledging to do exactly that. Over the last 2 decades, emissions have plummeted in the European Union and in North America, but it's not enough. You know, taking actions like creating more oil pipelines that allow and enable the transport of fossil fuels, of crude oil, by purpose of pipe rather than by train, leading to less carbon emissions. No, of course, that's not good enough. Cancel the Keystone XL pipeline, destroy the fossil fuel industry, stop drilling entirely. Well, what's the next solution? I guess a combination of solar power, wind power, hydropower, maybe a little bit of nuclear? I mean, what's the solution? Well, apparently, wind farms are now a no-go. No, but of course not, liberal hive mind. They just mean wind farms in this specific location. Well, if that's the standard, then no matter where you put the wind farms, I mean, you're going to cause problems. I mean, the amount of birds that these wind farms kill, at some point, PETA's going to start getting pissed. At some point, it's going to be in farming territory, and the farmers are going to get pissed. It's going to be in indigenous territory. In various different countries have indigenous populations. It's going to be an indigenous territory, and then there's going to be protests there. No matter where you are, there's going to be problems. I think there's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the Netherlands is working on a wind farm deep in the North Atlantic Ocean, or actually it might be in the North Sea, and at some point, the fish activists and the mermaid activists, the freaking SpongeBob activists, are gonna launch a massive protest, probably gluing their hands to buildings and roads, throwing paint on government buildings. It's the same thing over and over again. No matter what you do, the woke activist mob will not be satisfied. They will never be satisfied because they are fundamentally unhappy, and they're unwilling to be happy because being happy strips them essentially of their identity. Their identity comes from being unhappy and voicing those issues. Without those issues, they no longer have an identity, a personality, a raison d'etre, a group of people who feed off of drama, a group of people who, frankly, not to psychoanalyze, but whose personalities generally tend to be quite void, and so they adopt activism to fill that void, essentially. If it's not one thing, it's another. Professional grifters, professional unhappy people who live in some of the best, most equitable, most progressive places on earth. Places like Norway, for instance, a country that is rich in oil, but has committed towards sustainable innovation, a move towards a cleaner economy, but of course, that's not good enough. It's my issue with intersectionality and just with grievance politics in general. It's an endless totem pole, each little segment representing a different group or different identity, a different issue or a different cause, and no matter how much you scale up, it never ends. There's always another grievance group. No matter where you go, there's always somebody who's going to be offended. This is what I mean by the whole thing is fundamentally unserious. The people who suck up the most oxygen in the room, people like Greta Thunberg, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, very loud, theatrical leftist activists, aren't serious about finding solutions to the world's problems. They're merely actors in a political theater space, looking to farm attention, notoriety, and possibly fame. It's an act, it's an identity. Because if they truly cared about people and human suffering, if they truly cared about the planet, they'd probably be hard at work trying to do something about it in the places where it really matters. Greta Thunberg would actually be getting arrested protesting the CCP rather than getting fake arrested in Germany. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would be actually getting arrested by the CCP in China rather than getting fake arrested in Washington. I don't know, it's just a thought. It seems like a bunch of young, uneducated, clout-chasing TikTok characters. That's really what they are, characters, playing this activism game, pretending to be deeply knowledgeable on issues when clearly they have no expertise and no education in the field. And what it really is Western grievance politics. When you don't have problems, when your life is too good, when you're lacking drama, well then you cause problems, you complain as if your life is terrible and you're living under oppression, and you bring the drama that you so deeply desire and feed off of. You can't fix it, it's fundamental unhappiness. We will never be able to make the leftist mob go away. We'll never be able to satisfy them. We'll never make them happy. I think the best course of action, frankly, is to just completely ignore them. Because as I stated multiple times, they're just fundamentally unserious people. Climate activist Greta Thunberg is now protesting wind farms. Solar farms being built on indigenous land in Australia is probably the next target. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.